You know what I mean? 'Cause, like, we just thought it was 16, but I was like, well, let's try to beat it by, like, enough, you know?
Right.
That's so
Um,
crazy.
but it was more to kind of, like, throw it back. Because you remember, like, high ollie contests, like, back in the day?
Hell
Sure.
yeah.
Like, the Reese Forbes and, like, Danny Wainwright thing. Like, as a kid, I was like, that was, like, the most entertaining shit to me. So, but no one really kind of capitalized on doing a long ollie one. So I wasn't really trying to be like, oh, this is the world record or whatever. I just kind of wanted to throw it out there, like, spark kids to, like,
Try some
draw
shit.
draw
Hell yeah.
lines in the ground and like see how far they could ollie or something. You know, we kind of wanted them to like submit videos of kids just ollieing like super far. I just thought it'd be fun, you know.
That's
Hell
what's
yeah,
up.
dude. That's what's up. I just, Jordan, you got a freaking great story, and we thank you so much for coming on the show. If, for someone that's kind of tuning in and doesn't quite know who you are, do you mind just taking a second and kind of just introducing yourself and kind of letting us know where you're from?
Yeah, no doubt. Well, my name's Jordan Hoffart. I was born in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, Canada, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver. Yeah, grew up there. I got an older sister and mom and dad. Pretty good group of people, and they're always very supportive of whatever I wanted to do. And then, after high school, moved into the city, met the skate industry there, and then kind of made the jump down to San Diego. I should say Huntington first,
Right.
and lived with the team manager for Powell at the time for a couple of years, and then until I got on my feet, and then I kind of branched out, and now I live in Vista, California, and I wanted to be a pro skate, wanted to take a shot at being a pro skater, so took the jump, and it worked out, I guess.
Yeah, man, I'll say. So we're gonna go into that jump a little bit more, but for now, can you take us back to when you first started skating? Like when did that happen, and what was the circumstance?
All right, so my uncle was a freestyler in the 80s, like 70s, 80s kind of deal, you know. He wasn't pro or nothing, but he just was into it. And he stayed with us one summer, and he brought his freestyle board. And he kind of like pulled it out, and I was 6 years old, or I was 5 actually. And then so he just brought it out, and he was doing like manual like tail skids, like snake, like
dope.
back and forth kind of stuff.
Sick.
And I was like, whoa, that's so crazy. Or I was like a little kid, so I probably like shit my pants or something. But anyway, so I just thought it looked super cool. And then he let me like stand. He kind of pretty much taught me how to like roll on a board and whatnot. And so after the summer when he took off, he gave me his board. And so I was like, oh, hell yeah. And so I skated on that for a while. And then for Christmas that year, my parents got my sister and I like matching Nash like boards. They were like black and neon green and neon green. They were shitty, but they were tight at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dope.
So my sister and I like started skating together. She was older. She's like 4 years older than me, but you know, at the time it was pretty dope. And my dad actually then built me 2 quarter pipes. Like they were 3 feet high and they hit like vert at 3 feet. He didn't really know what he was doing, but those were the ramps that I like learned how to drop in on and everything. So that's kind of how it took off. I was pretty much when I got my board for Christmas, that was like when it really hit, you know?
Right. And what's really cool about your story, I mean, you were involved with other things as a kid as well. Can you go a little bit into that?
Yeah. Well, you know, it was just kind of like kid shit. Like when you're 6, everything's tight. You have ADD. Like you know, every direction you look at, you find something that's cool. So that's kind of where I was at with skating at that time. It was fun, but then I got into like drumming. I played the drums, and then because I idolized my sister, dude, I'll admit it, like I got into dancing, which is kind of gay, but it was
that's
it's
legit,
all good.
man.
And then yeah, but not this kind of the dancing I was doing was like hella gay.
Oh, okay. Or like ballet
Like, it
and
was
stuff,
like
or what?
jazzy. It was like jazz and tap and shit. It wasn't like salsa or like hip hop or anything like that. It was like super whatever.
You never know, man. It might have helped your, I don't know, helped a move or something. Maybe your 360s or something.
Yeah, Yeah, definitely, for sure. But but you know what it did get me into was gymnastics, and then I was in gymnastics, and I did karate as well. On karate hit pretty hard. Like once I started doing that, everything else kind of like I was kind of overdoing everything else. So I did karate probably like till I was 13, 14. So from I was like 8 to like 14, and then I kind of lost interest because after like I started skating again pretty hard, like midway through I was 10 and then 11. So 11 was like when skating kind of like came full circle again because my buds, like I was a little older and my buds got boards for their birthdays and shit.
Right.
So I had people to like progress with, and then it's kind of a wrap after that. Like still drummed and still played the drums and still did karate for a couple years, but then those kind of got phased out when skating kind of progressed, you know?
And what was it about skateboarding that made that other stuff, irrelevant?
Like phase out.
Yeah.
It just held my attention a lot longer. Like, I don't know. It just felt like, I don't know if you guys are it's like motorcycle enthusiasts,
Mm-hmm.
but it's kind of like when you're driving a motorbike and you're like in the open road and like the wind kind of, and like you just feel free,
Mm-hmm.
and as opposed to being in a car. So it's kind of like skateboarding had the best attributes from like all the shit I did. You know what I mean? So it's like you could create whatever you wanted. You could make this make this thing do whatever you could think of, And then you had this sense of freedom because it was just you cruising on the board with like the wind. You're just out there,
Hell
You
yeah.
didn't have to necessarily like organize a group of people to do it. You could just go and do it, and if people wanted to come, cool. If not, whatever. And that was pretty much it, dude. It was like, and then like I said, like you create whatever you want, so it just held your attention. It wasn't like one right way of doing things. You didn't have to repetitively do one thing over. If you're over it, you could try something else,
Yeah.
It wasn't like learning how to play an instrument or like read music. It was like, I don't know, there wasn't like any wrong way to go about it. So I really like that, and I feel like people, school systems especially, there's like a very specific way to learn things, and it doesn't like cater to everybody. It really limits people's growth, like that way of learning.
Right.
And I liked how skating wasn't like that. It was like you could come at it from 100 different angles and get 100 different outcomes, but they were all good, and you're always going to learn something,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense when you say it like that, because it was kind of the anti everything you were doing. Like drums are very stationary. You can't really walk around with your drums and go play at someone's house. You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
all those things, when you found skateboarding, you're like, wow, this is something completely different. I can go wherever I want, do whatever I want, and I'm sure that is a reason why a lot of people fall in love with it too.
Yeah, and it's like you don't, and you don't have like at the time you didn't have coaches yelling at you,
Right.
like that's not wrong or whatever. Skateboarding's obviously changed. I kind of have to just laugh at it, but it's definitely at that where it was at was just kind of like a really cool. Skateboarding was at a really cool place,
Yeah, I kind of trip on that though, Jordan. I gotta ask, what do you think about that? Because the way I look at it right now, skateboarding is kind of where maybe, I don't know, basketball and football was a couple decades ago, when people started really realizing like, okay, you can get really good at this if you just start earlier or maybe have a coach or something. Like, what's your take on all that?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's just like any sport. It's like